What's going on? Is Anton from antondaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. I was checking out the comments of my vlog channel and somebody asked me to speak on survivor's remorse and the black tax. And I think that it kind of goes hand in hand first because survivor's remorse is basically you surviving a traumatic event or a traumatic situation where a lot of other people didn't, right? And in most situations, it could be applicable to war and things like that. But I think that it's also applicable to our surviving the traumatic experiences that we seen while we was being raised, right? And it doesn't necessarily always have to come from family. It could, but a lot of times it comes from the environment or the culture that we're a part of. And I think that it then affects every single thing that happens in our life. I seen a video, and I'm not going to talk about the video yet because I got to react to it, but I seen a video where people were justifying the way that their kids were, and then I seen somebody's response to it, and it says, you groomed them, you made them that way, you placed them that way. And I sometimes look at guys, and I see their comments, and sometimes and occasionally I'll go and check out their profiles and stuff like that. And I could see why they would comment some of the stuff that they would comment. And it's not even their fault. It's their parents' fault. It's their culture's fault. It's the way that they was raised. And so they may be, a little bit sensitive, or they may act a certain type of way and they'll lash out at me in the comments, or they'll lash out. And I may not be the only person that they lash out at, or whose video that they watch and they feeling some type of way. And they'll be feeling some type of way when I say stuff that their father should have taught them, or they'll feel some type of way because they weren't supposed to experience some of the stuff they experienced in their life, and they got to work on it. They got to fix that within themselves. So now I don't even get, upset. Whereas years and years ago, I might have gotten upset at something that somebody said, but it doesn't really matter because they have to do the work. You're not going to stop them from being on the internet. But part of doing the work is understanding exactly that the way you was raised, a lot of us was raised in a hood. Even if we had two-parent households, we live in an environment where, you may be out the house 8 to 10 hours out of the day because you had to walk and go to school, or, the culture, depending on where you went to school, the school was an extension of your hood because all of the same people that went to school with you was from the hood. And so a lot of us got PTSD. We got PTSD from shit that we shouldn't have never seen in our lives. That also can be applicable when you make it out, and you also got family members that's still stuck with this hood mentality, which is another reason why I say that you were part of the Democratic plantation. I was a part of the Democratic plantation. It was very difficult for me to break out, and so difficult that the majority of my family members, I will tell you, they truly are the 92 and the 78%. The majority of my family members still have that Democratic plantation. And part of it is because they're still around the same thing that's reprogramming them. Even if you see something that could pull you out or interest you or intrigue you, or you need to do more research, you'll retreat back to that thing that you think is a comfort space, which your comfort space is a thing that you know, but it doesn't mean that it's comfortable. It could be very uncomfortable where you are, but we've normalized it being, a safe space because we're used to it, not because it's best for us. And that's why when people see me, I might be buying something new or whatever, and they'll say, God is going to humble you. And it's like, the fuck you talking about? We supposed to be rich. If I'm of God, and if God loved me, then that means he want to see his children be successful. But we program ourselves to be poor. We program ourselves to be under duress. We think that we need to absolutely suffer physically in that, oh my God, I don't have nothing, I got to go to the cat. We think that being humble means that you make somebody else rich by paying an over amount of interest or being not successful and then having that impact your life in a negative way. And that's humility. Humility is not being poor. Humility is a mindset. Being rich is not having stuff. It's a mindset. Now, the stuff may come along with it as a result of your mindset that then translates into your everyday actions. And that's why they say faith without works is dead, because you can think what you want to think, but if you don't put no energy behind it, it's not going to translate into anything. But it's a much bigger thing. It impacts our relationships. It impacts how we see our parents and how we treat them. A lot of these women are basically raising their sons to be son husbands. And because you then become successful a lot of times and you broke out of the matrix and you wanted to becoming great, your family or your mother, because the way she raised you and the way your interaction is with her, instead of her not looking at her children as a come up, right? She raised her children to basically be slaves to her. And it's one thing to do something nice for or be in a position where you can then benefit them, but I don't raise my child and expect for her to be able to take care of me when my job was to take care of her. And then I got to put myself in a position simultaneously to not be dependent on her, but just to be able to love her so that she can truly fulfill her obligation or whatever it is that her purpose is that God ordained for her to be. Whether that's to be a wife, whether that's to be a stay-at-home wife, whether that's to be a great mother, whether it's to be successful in a bit, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? We have to put that into our children, but then sometimes our children, you know, they have this burden that they never really speak on, or they got this black text where they got to come back and make themselves available to everybody and they got to take care of everybody. I struggle with it today. You know, I have people and family members and stuff like that pull on me like crazy when it comes to, you know, them saying, okay, well, let's hit up Anton or whatever. That's the first line of defense whenever they get themselves in trouble. Not even something that they couldn't control, self-inflicted wounds. So these women, a lot of times they'll raise their sons to be son husbands. The sons is contacting me for a coaching call, trying to figure out how they can make exponentially more money so that they can then fill the need that the mother was supposed to have with the man that she was supposed to be with, but instead she's pulling on him every single day, and they can't even have a good relationship with a woman because she's playing such a major role in her neediness in his life and in his finances in her life, and it's bad. And so a lot of times we have this survivor's remorse from the hood, we have a survivor's remorse from our families, we got the black tax, and I don't even think that it's just a black tax. I think that applies to other people in other cultures. They do have that same burden. We say it because it's the thing that we're used to seeing and it's so normalized in our community. But all of this stuff is just trauma that you have to work through and let go. And in the same time, you got to forgive yourself for allowing people to be able to live their life and not be interdependent on you for their happiness or their success. You don't owe anybody anything. Anything that you do for somebody, it's extra. It's something that comes along with it. It's not supposed to be required. And they'll sell it to you like, oh, you know, you ain't got to do this to me. It's a trick. They're trying to make you feel bad or whatever. But whenever you break out and then you become exponentially more successful, you become a greater version of yourself, don't let people trick you into coming back into and living in the hood, you know, in the place that tried to kill you. Don't let people trick you into getting back into a situation that's not conducive for your lifestyle. Don't believe for 1 second that you owe family members or you owe your parents something because you are successful. No, they brought you into the world. You're supposed to have the best. That would be like I'm telling my daughter that she owes me something if she winds up becoming successful when she never asked to be here in the first place. Y'all got to stop having children out of wedlock. Y'all got to stop having children that are poor, because even though they can be appreciative of you or they can honor you, it doesn't mean that you raise them the right way. We spend so much time dealing with our trauma through watching other people and then throwing our issues on them as though they are responsible for the way that we are supposed to be. We got to be better. We have to change. We have to do things differently. And I don't think that we're ready for that conversation, because it's much easier to blame someone else and to take accountability for who you are. It's much easier to blame somebody else than to take accountability and responsibility for who you are. It could very much be their fault. And then what? You need that in order to make you feel whole? Or you gonna get up and you gonna grind? You know, Eric Thomas one time said something, and I thought that it was incredibly insightful, right? He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but the story still is relevant. He said, if I come into your house and you beat down, right? And everything is tore up and somebody got the best of you and you on the floor crying, I can feel bad for you. But if I come back a week later and you still on the floor talking about, oh my God, and you ain't got up and started to make adjustments and protected yourself and got yourself better in a better position to where if it ever happened again, you prepare for it, then we have an issue. It's one thing to be acknowledged, it's another thing to make the adjustment. That's all I'm saying. So don't feel guilty for being successful. Don't feel guilty for leaving the Democratic plantation. Don't feel guilty in that you left a bad situation. Don't feel guilty that you're in a better space than other people that may be around you. And if you help out of the goodness of your own heart and don't let it hurt you. Don't let it take away from what you already got going on. That's why I say be selfish before you can be selfless, and you cannot pour out of an empty cup. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope y'all taking this to heart, because there's a lot of people out here that is really, really gotten survivor's remorse, and you can't grow because you're so busy looking back in the mirror, you can't go forward. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.